We are reconvening the public hearing for petition 23P1617 Stewart Creek Solar LLC. The time is 6 p.m. on February 28th. A couple of reminders before we get started again. If you have a cell phone, mine's sitting right here, I better silence it too. Please put it on silent or airplane mode just so that we don't get interrupted. Can everyone online hear me? If somebody can maybe give me a thumbs up or a nod of some kind online, make sure we're broadcasting. Or not. All right. So before we get started in any further comment or witnesses, I believe there was an exhibit list tendered by the zoning officer, zoning administrator. These are zoning, you want to cover that for the record?
You just want me to read?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. The zoning office exhibit list, ZO group exhibit number 1, petition for special use permit filed October 6, 2023. Petition for special use permit filed November 3rd, 2023, which is the first amended petition, and the amended petition for special use permit filed December 4th, which is the second amended petition. ZO Group Exhibit Number 2, notification letters that were mailed to District 2 County Board members, Lee County Health Department, Lee County Highway Department, Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District, Alto Township Planning Commission, Willow Creek Township Planning Commission, Willow Creek Township Supervisor, Alto Township Supervisor, Willow Creek Township Road Commissioner, Alto Township Road Commissioner, Village of Lee Mayor, and Village of Stewart Mayor. ZO Group Exhibit Number 3, agendas for January 4th, January 16th, February 1, and February 20th. ZO Number 4, notice of public hearing that was posted at the northeast corner of Stewart Road and McGurr Road, and at the northeast corner of the parcel identified as PIN 21-12-12-200-002. ZO Group Exhibit Number 5, Affidavit of Service, Certificate of Publication for the Dixon Telegraph, Certificate of Publication for the Old County Life, Certified Mailing Receipts, and Signed Certified Mailing Green Cards. ZO Number 6, Lee County Soil and Water Conservation District's Natural Resources Information Report dated December 30th, 2023. And ZO Number 7, the Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement, or AMA, for Phase 2 of the Stewart Creek project.
Do the members of the zoning board have any questions regarding the exhibits tendered by the zoning office? The record will show none. Does the petitioner have any questions or objections to the list?
None, thank you.
Do any member of the county officials have any questions or concerns about the exhibits tendered? Any interested parties present that have any questions or objections to the exhibits tendered by the zoning office? All right, the group exhibits and the list will be admitted and considered as part of the record. We left off the last time, we were still on the petitioner's case before the zoning board, so I'll turn back over to council.
We rest.
Right, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
So at this point, if there are interested parties present, you have an opportunity to speak, ask questions of the zoning office or the petitioner and their representatives. So we'll start with that. Does anyone wish to speak or offer comment that is present physically here in the courtroom? All right, we're going to go right to left versus left to right like last time. So, sir, if you go up to the podium, state your full name for the court reporter, and then go ahead.
My name is John Peterson, and I'm a better speaker than I am a reader, but some of this stuff I'm going to have to read. So my main concern is on the battery storage system. Stewart Creek Solar, they've been very vague about it. So I did some research on it, and these are some risks involved in a BESS system. One major risk is thermal runaway. This is a cycle in which excessive heat creates more heat, gas buildup, and potential explosion, which can spread from cell to cell. It's a major risk in lithium ion technology. Another risk is control system failure, which is a failure of the protection system or the battery management system. This can lead to overcurrent charging and the inability to monitor operating environment, such as the temperature of the cells and the voltage. Another one is the sensitivity of lithium-ion batteries. Contrary to existing conventional batteries technology, lithium-ion batteries are very sensitive to electrical surges or mechanical damage, which results in internal battery heating, explosions, and fires. There have been many case studies of BESSes employing lithium-ion batteries involved in a number of high-profile incidents in recent years. Just in 2023, a number of fires broke out in BESS units ranging from small 1.2 megawatt hour to 560 megawatt hour facilities, 14 fires in total last year. Most of these fires included toxic gases and burning plastic smells. These BESS systems range from 0 to 1.6 years old, so they're newer technology. All of these, or almost all of these, having fire protection, monitoring, and temperature control. I say almost all because some of these units that had them were caught on fire in transit on the way to being commissioned. Some of these fires burned for days, some for weeks, without the ability to be extinguished. I've spoken to the local fire department members. They have many concerns. One major is that Stewart Creek Solar has not contacted them even after phase one was approved. They said usually a project this size, and these types of risks should have been contacted, especially being smaller departments, volunteer departments, and covering 9,500 acres involving large amounts of equipment, just the logistics of it. One said that if a fire broke out, there are no hydrants located in any of those areas, and all water would have to be trucked. I've also been told that to put out a lithium-ion battery fire, the batteries must be submerged, totally submerged in water, or let them burn out. A facility the size of this BESS system, that would take quite a while. The proposed size of this BESS system is 150 megawatt with a 4-hour duration. From what I could find, it takes roughly 1,000 square feet per megawatt hour of storage. So with some quick math, that's 150 megawatts times 4 hours times 1,000 square feet. That's 600,000 square feet of industrial battery storage. That's about 14 acres of concrete with Connex boxes filled with hazardous materials. Not to mention, Hexagon has no BESS systems in operation, and they've only advised on 20 megawatt hours of storage. U.S. Energy Storage Association said decommissioning of a BESS system, of a 10 megawatt BESS system, would cost around $474,000. So one this size would probably cost around $7 million, just over $7 million. About a year ago, a man with a packing plant burned down in Lee. He came here seeking a special use permit to rebuild on an abandoned cattle farm a half a mile from where his original packing plant was. This was a small facility, not near the size of the solar farm or even the BESS system. He had many permanent employees, and he had a builder and a plan, more than this BESS system had. What he didn't have was a fancy lawyer and some smooth-talking salesman and a bunch of money to pay people. He was denied his permit because it did not fit the special use permit criteria. I'm here to say neither does phase 2 of Stewart Creek Solar Farm. No area of the BESS system has been allocated on any maps or setbacks shown on any maps. The BESS system is not a solar farm. It is an industrial energy storage plant. It does not meet the criteria of special use permit and does not fit into the solar farm ordinance. No study has been done on property values, if property values would be affected due to the placement of this BESS system. No location has been chosen for it. No decommissioning plan has been made for it. What's to say that this BESS system couldn't be placed on one of the first 5,000 acres that were approved? Not part of this special use permit. The special use permit was created for people like the packing plant guy that wanted to rebuild his family business, not for carpetbaggers that come along to put in a railway, a solar farm, a wind farm, or 150 megawatt industrial storage facility. I asked that the zoning board not approve phase 2 of Stewart Creek Solar Farm based heavily on the battery storage system, not meeting special use permit criteria. It is also my feeling that if they want to build a 14-acre battery storage plant, that they should get a separate special use permit to be obtained for that use. Also, I would like the board to try to find a property use or a property value study that is not paid for by a solar farm or wind farm that shows property values would not be decreased by a utility-sized solar farm. Everyone I found was paid for by a solar farm. There's hundreds that were not on the internet. I'm not going to read them all, but there's hundreds. They're by colleges, by things, and there's actually it's funny what you can find on the internet. There's papers that show there's studies on studies of how they came across that. So I just challenge you to try to find that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do the members of the zoning board have any questions for Mr. Peterson? Hearing none. Petitioner, do you have any questions for Mr. Peterson?
I have none.
Does the zoning administrator have any questions for Mr. Peterson?
I have none.
County? Apparently none. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Next, sir, if you'd step up and say your name.
My name's Andy Wade. So good evening, and let me start by saying thank you to the committee members and leadership of Lee County for giving me the opportunity to speak about this proposed project. Again, my name is Andy Wade, and I'm here to represent the more than 900 skilled and qualified men and women of the Electrical Workers IBEW Local 364. These workers live in and around Lee County, and I speak today in support of this solar project. The reason for my support is the large amount of work that this project will bring to the area. Additionally, as we have seen with other large projects, the workers that will be on this site building it, they will bring with them significant contributions to the local economy. I think it is important for residents in rural areas to preserve their rural surroundings because the quiet environment and the open spaces are probably the largest reasons that they live in these areas, as well as farming. But I also know that through fair ordinances and communication with developers, these projects can be designed to have an extraordinarily small impact on their neighbors. I believe Lee County officials and Hexagon have demonstrated a commitment to keep their surrounding community their highest priority. And, respectfully, sir, as far as the BESS system goes, I've a lot of stuff that's going on locally, especially granaries. You're seeing, these are very small solar installations, but along with them, these granaries are adding almost exclusively Tesla Megapacks. For anybody unfamiliar with these, they have 1 megawatt in battery storage with them, and they are pretty much 30 feet by 10 feet. You could call it a Connex. I would call it switchgear. It's enclosed, battery storage with the electrical feeds in it. And so I do, no disrespect at all, sir, I do question the size of what he referenced. I don't think it would be that big, not even close. But I'm not sure. I'm just using, some stuff that I've seen to form my opinion on that. In addition to that, I can attest to the previous public hearing that the noise on these sites, you stand outside the fence there, it's almost non-existent. The The noise is very minimal. And again, I do believe that county officials in Hexagon has the community's best interest. You know, that's their highest priority. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Do the members of the zoning board have any questions for this gentleman? Zoning administrator? County? None. Petitioner?
I have none.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Next? Nope, we're going to keep allowing these gentlemen to speak, okay?
a question on his. I do have a picture of 150, but I can't see it. Sure.
You want to share that with him, please?
Yeah, I
do.
got one for.
All right.
And again, I'm not, you know, I'm an electrician. Yeah. And yeah, oh,
Hold-
nice to meet you, 364.
Hold on, Mr. Wade.
Yep.
Just a second. So, Mr. Peterson, we're going to note in the record that the photograph you tendered, we marked as Peterson Exhibit 1, just so we can keep track of it, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Wade.
Yeah, and I do, you know, want to say I am not an expert on battery storage, okay? So that was just my opinion, but I have seen sites locally, they're not solar sites, but sites that have a lot of battery storage. And, you know, on occasion, maybe a battery, you know, does catch fire, and I've seen, you know, the local workers put that out without any additional consequences. It was, you know, and I do believe these systems, they're redundantly monitored, and they have a quality fire suppression system, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Sir?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Len Saunders. I'm a representative with the Mid-America Carpenters Regional Council. And just like Mr. Wade was speaking earlier, we're here in support of the project. It means many thousands of hours for our members on these projects. We've been around a lot of them throughout Northwest Illinois, smaller community ones, larger ones. And the amount of work that is there for our members is outstanding. The project's done. They're not an eyesore like a lot of people think they are before they're put in. I've been around some that are absolutely beautiful, green grass. I mean, just like the pictures that you see in a lot of the presentations with the flowers and everything, that is what they look like when they're completed, you know, after amount of time for the vegetation to get established. And our training, you know, we train for this kind of work along with IBW. And I just can't say enough how much Hexagon has been involved, you know, with Lee County, just like Will had said earlier on about being here for the Renewable Energy Committee meetings. I was here for a lot of those as well, and actually, you know, saw them participating with the county before the new bills were even passed. And I mean, they've been great to work with. So I would encourage, you know, the county to approve this zoning. That's it.
The members of the zoning board have any questions for this gentleman? Zoning administrator,
None.
county? Petitioner?
None.
Thank you. Alderman Weiss, do you want to speak on the topic?
If I may.
Please.
Okay, so as you heard, the cat's out of the bag. I'm Alderman Wise on the Sterling City Council. I'm a resident of the city of Sterling. I want to commend you for bringing this matter to this point, both the applicant and the board. I encourage you to approve this project. A project of this scale and scope provides great benefit for the region and the Sauk Valley area. What wasn't mentioned here was the educational and the skills training opportunities that would be provided by this job, by this project. The community colleges and their efforts to expand their skilled trade training opportunities, Sauk Valley, Kishwaukee, Rock Valley, the Whiteside County Career Center, Lee County Schools. You have an opportunity here to expand the education of skilled trades. We're losing population in this side of the state. Whiteside County and Lee County population is declining. Again, a job, a project of this scale and scope provides the opportunity to maintain a solid population base from which you can grow and expand upon that. If you can train the younger generation, the skills that these gentlemen have and what this project would provide, that then gives them the opportunity to stay and live, work, and play in this area. So I too, as an individual, as a citizen, resident of the city of Sterling, Whiteside County, encourage you to approve the applicant's request for the permit. Thank you.
Thank you. The members of the zoning board have any questions of this gentleman? Zoning administrator,
I didn't catch his name.
Jim Wise, W-I-S-E.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Petitioner,
I have none.
anything from the county? Hearing none. Thank you, sir. All right, anyone online that wishes to speak on the petition?
I would please.
All right, if you'd state your name and then proceed.
Yep, my name is Heidi Peterson. And I think one of the biggest concerns I have, we currently reside in the communities where all of this stuff is going to benefit the workers coming in. I understand everyone needs to feed their family, the electricians, the laborers, but they come in for a certain amount of hours and they give their time, their talent to this, and then they leave. What about the people who have worked, put everything in to their homes and will be surrounded by potentially unsafe circumstances? I'm having a hard time decide or understanding how a system like this, like the battery storage system, can be approved by the zoning board if there's no location listed anywhere on the paperwork of where it could end up being. That could potentially be in my neighbor's backyard. It could be in our backyard. But it's not like if approval goes forward, what's to say that they don't choose an unsafe location? Nothing has been, they have not been given a permit for that. They haven't asked for a permit. It just kind of magically appeared. Oh, by the way, we're going to need this too. Also, like I said, the workers will come in. They say the workers are going to bring a lot of boost in the economy. I'm not sure how many have been to Lee County where this is building. They can probably bring a lot of business to Casey's. That's about what we have. Gas stations, maybe. It's not a highly commercialized place where there's going to be a lot of revenue brought in by the workers. No, I don't have any issues with the workers. Like I said, they need to bring it, but people live in this community. I have a kid who was actually at one of the meetings. Like, he wants to be a farmer and he's watching all of this land to be taken for things that we have salesmen show up, they sell it to the board and they're gone. You'll never see them again. And we have generations of farmers who are losing their farmlands. We have kids who want to be farmers, and the farmland is going for things that the land is not zoned for. So I would personally say, let's do our research. Let's see how much this is actually bringing. I know we can educate people, but that is not what this land is for. I disagree that they're beautiful. I don't think that's possible. If they're benefiting us more than hurting us, that's one thing, but we need to do our research. There's a lot of things that just don't line up. And I encourage you to make sure they're getting approved for what they're actually asking for, if that's the case. So I think that's it.
Great, thank you, Ms. Peterson. Do the members of the zoning board have any questions? Go ahead.
Yes, Ms. Peterson, what's your address? Where are you located there?
If you look on a map, we're pretty much right in the center of everything that's supposed to be built. We live on Locust Road in Stewart.
Okay, Locust Road, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the zoning board? Zoning administrator?
None. Thank you.
County petitioner?
I have none. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Peterson. Next, who wants to speak from online? All right,
I have my hand raised, if it's
I
all
see
right if
that.
I go next.
please state your name and proceed.
Allie Huss, I am a Lee County Board member from District 2. I have a question just pertaining to the battery storage portion of this petition. Lee County has a current moratorium on battery storage. I am unclear in understanding how this is able to be a part of the petition given the current moratorium.
Does petitioner want to respond to the question?
Sure, I can answer that, or I see Assistant State's Attorney Sasser is on the screen. If she wants to address it, either way, I'm fine.
Why don't we start with the petitioner?
Sure.
And offer your response.
So the Illinois Counties Code governs in relevant part. It provides that a county cannot or may not place any restriction on the installation or use of a commercial wind energy facility or a commercial solar energy facility unless it adopts an ordinance that complies with the requirements of that county's code. It further provides that a county may not establish siting standards for supporting facilities that preclude the development of the commercial wind energy facilities or commercial solar energy facility. The code goes on to define what constitutes a supporting facility, and that includes transmission lines, substations, access roads, storage containers, and equipment associated with the generation and storage of electricity by the commercial solar energy facility. I would note that the ordinance also adopts this language, and so our argument is that battery energy storage, or BESS, complies and constitutes a supporting facility.
All right, thank you. Ms. Sasser,
So
do you wish to
Is
respond?
it the
Hold on.
testimony of the
Hold
petitioner
on.
then that this size of the BEST is required to support this solar development?
Ms. Huss, hold on. So we're going to continue to offer opportunities here. Ms. Sasser, do you want to weigh in on behalf of the county at all? Yeah. I'm not sure we're connecting very well. So Ms. Sasser, we can't hear you very well. You're breaking up, so.
I apologize, my audio is not functioning. If you can hear, all the county has had an opportunity to switch that attorney.
So we're going to skip over you briefly and go to the zoning administrator for response.
Yes, so within our code, the way the definitions are written, battery storage as an accessory use is allowed in Lee County. It is the standalone projects that are currently under moratorium.
Ms. Huss, it's your question, so I'll give you the final word.
So is it the testimony of the petitioner then that the size of the BEST within this petition is required as the accessory use to this size of the project?
My first response is that I'm not sworn in under oath, but as an officer of the court, I'm representing that the county's code does not have any limitation in its definition of supporting facility, and neither does the ordinance.
Any further comments you have, Ms. Huss?
That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your input. Anyone else online that wishes to offer comment? You have a
Yes.
hand raised, MGV?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Mel Grattan. My brother and I own a parcel of land on Stewart Road that we currently lease to our tenant there. I am from Galena, Illinois, and I know we're not working the land ourselves, but we are currently on a Century farm where 5 generations have farming in our blood, and it's what we do. I had some of the same thoughts about this project when we were first approached to take part in it. Being a good steward, and I hope we were, we decided to do a lot of research into this and try to make an informed decision whether this was the right thing to do. Like I said, we have a great affinity to the land, and we respect it, and we want what's best for farming into the future. This was we are talking about using land for energy production versus feed and food. If you think about ethanol, which is nearby, 30% of our corn crop is used for energy. I did some research comparing the two forms of energy, solar and ethanol. And if anyone is interested, I'd be willing to share some of the findings that I came up with. But the bottom line is it's tremendously easier to produce energy from solar farms than it is from producing corn on farms. And I'm not anti-ethanol. I sell corn myself, and I understand the market for it. But if we're going to go to an electric economy, which I think is going to happen, it's going to be changed, and whether we like it or not, it's going to be there. This is something I think that is the most efficient way to utilize this land. Now, the thing that helps me make a decision for solar energy also is that this is a temporary use, and it will be doing minimal damage to farmland. We're going to drive some pilings into the ground. They're not going to be huge. It should be lightweight equipment that's going over it. Between the panels, they will be planted to native species, which include a number of pollinators. Just along that line alone, the pollinators that are being promoted and helped by the existence of solar energy projects, it has shown that anybody around that area who depends on pollinators for any of their crops has seen a significant increase in the benefits to those crops. So that's part of it. The other part of it is I'm part of a soil and water health group where we're doing extensive studies in our area about how to improve soil and increase its productivity, and also make sure it's going to be there. There's been way too much soil lost over the years, and farming is one. I hate to say this, but as farmers, we have not done the best job maintaining and caring for soil in a lot of areas. I realize this is not a highly erodible area, but there is a water issue there. And from the studies that we've done, and we've worked with the University of Wisconsin at Platteville, and some of their educators have been out in the fields. And what we've been doing is taking water infiltration studies on the various farms that we're working on. And when you put these farms under grass, or in the case that we're talking about, cover crops, the water infiltration increases immensely. And as you make that soil more productive, as you bring the tilth back, as you add organic matter to it, and you do this by some of these perennial crops, it makes the soil more productive, not less productive. So think about it as the solar project as a 30 or 35-year CRP program in which this could enhance the land that this is on. The other thing I looked at was when we're talking about water, before I leave that, the runoff that you would have from a solar farm with a vegetative base underneath it would be much less, from the studies I've seen, than it would have been if it was used in agriculture. And we have in the Rochelle Stewart area, the water, getting rid of too much water is more of a problem than getting rid of it too fast. And I think you will see an improvement in what happens to water infiltration and runoff when you take these thousands of acres and put them under sod versus row crops. I think that will be a major benefit for that. The other thing I thought about was, the economic benefits of this. The economics of this make more sense for farmers than it does growing corn. I think that's pretty apparent. But that's not the only thing that I think is a plus here. If you look at as Mr. Hansman testified last week, if you look at the tax revenues that's being created and paid over this lifetime of this project, this is a major plus for this community and the surrounding area and for Lee County. It's something that it will take, I don't know, it'll take 10 times more farms generating taxes than what they will be paying. So this is your schools, your roads, everything that rely on a tax base will be immensely improved because of this. The other thing I thought about was I've worked with people on economic development over the years, and most of the times when someone wants to do economic development, there's a downside to it. In this case, I have trouble finding, other than if we think it looks bad, if the aesthetics don't please us, I imagine that's a downside. But we could grow in there and an agricultural area, and we could grow trees. We could do anything that would change this, and the neighbors would all get accustomed to looking at something a little different. These are only 15 feet tall. This is not the same as wind, even though I've visited a lot of wind sites as well. But when I see people trying to do economic development, you need a lot of infrastructure in place to do this. You not only need the land base, but you need water, you need sewer, you need electricity. In this case, the only electricity will be where you connect into the grid. So none of this will be required. Noise will be practically non-existent. I would guess that overall, once this project is in operation, the noise will be less than it was farming it. Traffic is another thing that you have to look at when you talk about economic development. Once this is installed, traffic will be probably less than it would be if we're running our equipment up and down the roads and running trucks in harvest time. So I think this is a great type of economic development that helps all of us, as communities, look at this it helps us to improve our communities. It helps improve the neighborhood. There are other benefits, and I'm going to stop talking, but I do want to commend your board who is hearing this, and I followed what Lee County has been doing with their solar ordinance over the years. And one of the things I've come to appreciate is the time and effort that you've taken to make this the best you can. And I think you've done a wonderful job. I'm very appreciative of that. That makes all of us who are involved in this, I think, much more relaxed and have less anxiety. I also want to thank, I think Hexagon has done a wonderful job in communicating with people. They've been very transparent. They've answered all questions. And from my standpoint, they're a very, great group to work with. Before I leave, I have one question, and this would be for one of the either Scott or Will Hansman from Hexagon, or maybe someone from your zoning office can help me with this. One of the concerns I had initially, and I think it was put to rest, but I didn't hear it in the last session. It was referenced that the decommissioning part of this would be, taken care of. And I think the county has some work to do on this as we go forward. And I would just like to, for the record, have the process for the decommissioning, bonding, or whatever else is required to make sure that happens. The only way we get this land back in a reasonable state is if it's decommissioned properly. And I don't have a concern about that, but I did not hear the whole issue entered into the record, and I would appreciate if someone could do that for me.
All right, Mr. Grattan, thank you very much for your input and comments. If you could do us a favor, could you spell your last name for the benefit of the reporter?
Gratton.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I will give petitioner an opportunity, if they wish to answer the question, to go ahead.
Sure. So that the decommissioning is in large part governed by the Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement, or what we refer to throughout the course of this hearing as the AMA. It requires the developer to have an independent engineer perform evaluation to see, how much it would cost to decommission the entire project. And then it also requires the developer or owner of the project to post that financial surety with the county. I know here in Lee County, the county has accepted letters of credit in the past to satisfy the decommissioning obligations. I know that, if it gives you any peace of mind, Mr. Grattan, I believe it was some years ago, the Big Sky Wind Farm had what's called a triggering event under their decommissioning surety bond. Basically, the company had changed ownership hands, and that allowed the county, it was a triggering event, even though the transfer went through without a hitch. The county was notified of that, and then to ensure that the county still had the funds to decommission should something go awry, the county was able to draw down on those funds to protect its participating landowners and the county. That decommissioning surety under the AMA has to be updated every 5 years by that independent engineer.
All right, thank you. Do the members of the zoning board have any questions?
I think we might want to add something.
No questions, on the zoning board. I'll go back to petitioner. I think there was an additional, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Grattan, G-R-A-T-T. You've done a lot of investigation. Have you discovered, and since you own property, have you discovered in your investigation how the solar companies are able to pay such high rents compared to what the farming situation does?
Well, I looked at that, and I don't have access to their economic, projections and statement. I'm sure it must be okay. I think what they're doing also is they're paying much higher taxes than they are rents for the use of this land. So, it's and I don't think money is the only issue here. I think there are a lot of other things that have to be taken into consideration. But I appreciate the pressure this puts on rents. I rent land myself, and I rent it next to, more of a semi-urban areas, and the price of land and everything it gets escalated, and it's very hard, especially for the young farmers. I wanted my follow-up to the question about the decommissioning. My understanding, and I think this is what you said, and I probably went over my head. This will be reviewed by the Lee County on, what is it, a 5-year basis to make sure that the numbers that will be used to allow decommissioning will be accurate and appropriate going forward?
Sure. My understanding is that the Lee County engineer will review that decommissioning bond, but in addition to the Lee County engineer reviewing it, we have to get an independent licensed engineer to come up with those figures, and that's every 5 years. But the Lee County engineer could theoretically review it at any time.
Okay.
And then I would just note for the record, we do have an updated decommissioning plan submitted as an exhibit with your materials prepared by Kimley Horn, the engineering firm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Zoning
Thank you.
Administrator,
I
thank you, Mr.
appreciate
Grant.
that.
Zoning Administrator, wish to comment?
I do. With regards to the decommissioning plan, even the concerns related to contacting the fire district, a lot of things are triggered at the building permit time. So they will not get a building permit until certain requirements have been met. One of those is providing the decommissioning plan that has to be approved by the county and posting the decommissioning surety funds with the county. And once that is done, then amongst a number of other things, we can issue the building permit.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else online that wishes to comment? All right, hearing none. Mr. Peterson, you have your hand up. I'll give you a very short time since you had your chance, but we'll give you a very short time.
There is no decommissioning plan for the best system though.
That will have to be provided prior to the issuance of any building permit. Their decommissioning, and that is fine. And we understand that it may not be in there at the time of petitioning, but when it comes to building permit time, that's when we make sure all the i's are dotted, all the t's are crossed. A number of things can change between now and then, so.
I just didn't understand. I didn't see it.
Yep. No, their decommissioning plan will have to cover the decommissioning of all the aspects of their project.
I know the EPA said something about the plant was ultimately responsible for, if there is no decommissioning plan for batteries, that the landowner would be responsible for all the, in any EPA waste, hazardous material is left over, not the leasing, the actual landowner.
So Mr. Peterson, that'll be evaluated at the time of the building permit.
That's fine. I didn't see it in here.
If I could add just to answer his question on our end,
Sure.
the battery energy storage is included in the decommissioning plan in the revised decommissioning plan that was prepared by Kimley Horn. That was submitted. If you give me just one moment, I can tell you what exhibit that was. Petitioner's exhibit number 3.
Thank you. Hearing no further comment online or those present, petitioner, you have the burden of proof. Do you have any rebuttal comments or evidence you wish to present?
None.
All right. Anything further from the members of the zoning board? Zoning administrator? So let's go to the wrap-up phase now. And petitioner, it's your application, so I'll give you the first final word and we'll go from there.
Thank you. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone for participating in the hearing over the course of the last 2 nights. We really appreciate it. I know the company does, and I do as well. I had in my closing here to address the concerns about the battery energy storage system and its impact with the Illinois Counties Code, but I already covered that in a response to County Board Member Huss. But bottom line is, pursuant to the county's code and the ordinance, the commercial solar energy facility, that is this project, including the battery energy storage that's proposed, is a proper special use for this land. With that, we turned to the ordinance. There were certain hearing factors noted under the ordinance regulating commercial solar energy facilities. And I'd like to take a minute to go through each one of those factors and then highlight on the evidence and testimony presented to each one. The first factor is the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the commercial solar energy facility will not be detrimental or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. Here, I think there was ample testimony provided that this project will not be detrimental to any of those. I think there's so many positive impacts or aspects of this project. Specifically focusing on the villages of Stewart and Lee. The Illinois Municipal Code allows municipalities to regulate certain land uses within their boundaries and within their 1.5-mile radius surrounding their corporate jurisdiction. The county's code, however, notes that if a county has an ordinance in place that regulates a particular use, it strips that municipality of the authority to regulate within that boundary. Here, Lee County has an ordinance that regulates commercial solar energy facilities. So from a legal point of view, the villages of Stewart and Lee respectively do not have any permitting or regulatory authority over this project. You heard testimony from Mr. Reamer and Mr. Hansman that even though those villages didn't have any authority over the project, the company still went and met with those municipalities and their boards. You heard about the testimony to the concessions that the company is willing to make, that they're willing to utilize dark sky certified lighting all over the project. Further, in order to acknowledge and respect the village's economic development plans, they've agreed to farther setbacks in certain areas. Voluntarily, the company has agreed to donate certain amounts of money to both villages over the course of the project life. They've also highlighted that some of those payments have already been made without any guarantee that this project will be built. I think that alone, coupled with the other concessions, shows that Stewart Creek intends to have a presence here in the county, but to be a good neighbor to all involved. The economic benefits that Mr. Hansman testified to that this project will generate, the job creation, as you may recall, he testified that up to 700 construction jobs will be created. The various property taxes that will be generated, the land payments to the participating landowners, and what I will term ancillary or secondary benefits to the local economy because of that increase in population or increase of workers in the area. This project also satisfies the state's goal of green, clean, renewable energy. If you turn to the environmental aspects of this project, you only have to look to the results of the EcoCat results with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the IPAC results with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. Mr. Hansman highlighted or touched on that there will be no impact to nearby airports or airstrips. The second factor is that the project will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor will it substantially diminish and impair property values of surrounding properties. With the application materials, there is a land value report prepared by Cohn Resnick, a licensed appraisal firm, that concluded that this project will not negatively impact adjoining land values. You also heard Mr. Hansman testify that the land will not prevent other adjacent landowners from using their property. We don't take up any airspace over their land. It's not going to impede their development. The third factor, the establishment of the project will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties, which, as I just touched on, it's not going to prevent adjacent landowners from continuing to use their property currently. We believe solar is a good neighbor. You've heard testimony regarding the noise, that albeit while there will be some noise during the construction phase, that will be temporary and there will be minimal noise during the operation phase of the project. You heard testimony regarding the vibration that the project is anticipated to emit. Maybe some, again, during that construction phase, but that's temporary in duration. No vibrations expected during the operational phase. The project will not emit any odor. There will be no shadow flicker, and there will be safe levels of EMF, relatively minimal, generated by this project. The fourth factor is that adequate public utilities, access roads, drainage, or necessary facilities have been or will be provided. This project will not require or strain any new public utilities. As you heard testimony from Mr. Hansman, there will be internal access roads created at the petitioner's sole cost and expense. There is a drainage plan in place that will actually improve drainage practices. That'll be utilized through the firm Huddleston McBride. The company confirmed its commitment to adhering to the AMA requirements, including those related to drainage issues. The fifth factor, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress designed so as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. Again, we acknowledge and concede that traffic will be increased during construction, but this will be temporary. Construction hours will be set, we will follow them by ordinance, and we will adhere to that. Will help limit this. Long-term traffic impacts include that traffic will actually be reduced over time. There will be adequate and appropriate dust control measures in place, and the company has committed that there will be no parking on the side of the road. There will be no hazards associated with that. And again, as I noted, internal access roads will be created to access the project itself. The sixth factor, the proposed commercial solar energy facility is not contrary to the objectives of the current comprehensive plan of the county. If you turn to the current comprehensive plan here in Lee County, it does not specifically address commercial solar energy facilities, but it does promote various agricultural values and objectives. This project, as proposed, still meets those objectives of the comprehensive plan. Agricultural land is still being used for agricultural purposes. While it is taking the ground out of row crop production, the farmers, participating landowners are still able to harvest the energy generated by the sun and convert that. It's also allowing farm families to diversify their stream of income so that family farms can remain in the family, especially in uncertain times. This provides a level of stability to farmers. I'd also like to note that this project is for a temporary point in time. After the life of this project, the land will be restored back to its original state. I tend to agree with Mr. Grattan's comments that it's almost like putting this land in a CRP program. I believe after the land is allowed to rest, the land underneath the panels will be in better condition than before the project. The seventh and final factor is that the commercial solar energy facility shall, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the ordinance and the zoning district in which it is located. Here, there was extensive testimony from Mr. Hansman as to the project's compliance with each requirement under the ordinance. In fact, I think we can all say that we painstakingly went through that ordinance and indicated where certain reports and studies can be found and how the project, as proposed, meets each and every requirement. Based on each of these factors and the evidence and testimony presented herein, we respectfully request that you recommend this project to the county board. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the members of the zoning board have any final comments for the public hearing? Zoning administrator?
None, thank you.
All right. Hearing no further witnesses or public comments, the public hearing portion of the petition will be concluded. We are set for a meeting on March 6th at 6 p.m. to begin working through the findings of fact and decisions or recommendations of the zoning board. I will remind the zoning board and those present that as you work through those findings of fact, you are going to look at the evidence that's been presented, the exhibits into the record, compare that to the requirements of the Lee County Code, and as well as the state statute, which was significantly amended fairly recently. Consider that what you must determine and make those appropriate recommendations to the county board. Any further questions for this evening? Seeing no hands raised online either, I will conclude the proceedings and see everyone that wishes to be present on March 6th. Thank you all.
Thank you.